Hey guys, welcome back to another Bunny Space Industries video where I talk about space, autistically about space, and you sit there and listen to me for some reason. I want to start off this video with saying that my recent Starship video has had some backlash. People saying it's misinformation or it's clickbait. I am not an expert. I'm not a professional. I don't work for NASA. I don't work for SpaceX. I've never claimed to be an expert. I've stated multiple times throughout the videos, I'm not an expert. I have no degrees in aerospace or anything like that. And I'm just simply not an expert in space or anything. I just like to talk about space and the things I've learned about it. And all the factual information I have is Googleable. I get it from Google. And if anything is opinionated or speculative, I will state that. I've never claimed to be a valid source. I have never claimed to state facts that are not facts. I'm completely against that. So, don't think that just because I say something, it should be taken as fact. I just want to talk about space and create a platform where people can, geek out about space. But anyway, gonna get into today's Jeez, I can't use English sometimes. I'm gonna get on to today's topic of the International Space Station (ISS) and its current replacements. And yes, I'm stating multiple replacements. So the ISS, should probably get the year it was built. One second, let me Google that real quickly. So the ISS was built in 1998 and was recently declared finished in 2011 by NASA. Their current plan to retire it is in around 2030 by using a SpaceX capsule to deorbit the ISS and drop into the Pacific. Why is it going to be retired? It's expensive to maintain and it's old. It was built in 1998 and kept up until this point. I mean, if this thing was on Earth, it would be rusting. But it's in space, and rust isn't really a thing in space. I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe there's a space rust. Again, I'm not an expert. Feel free to correct me in the comments. It'll be replaced with commercial space stations owned by Axiom, Blue Origin, and Voyager Space and Vast Space. It'll be dropped into Point Nemo, which is a spot in the Pacific that is 1,670 miles from the nearest land. So that's what the current fate of the ISS is. It's going to retire. It's going to be forced back to the atmosphere. It's going to burn up because of how big it is. And any pieces that still survive the burning, the re-entry burn, is going to plummet into the ocean and sink to the bottom. Now let's go on to the replacements. I feel like I'm talking very fast. And that's because I'm trying to chase the camera battery because I don't feel like replacing the battery and starting over. So sorry if I sound like I'm talking a little fast. But I'll try and slow down because I don't think the battery's going to digest yet. And if it does, I can just stop and replace it. So let's talk about the first one, which is Axiom Space, which is our commercial space station. I don't know why I'm going off the picture. It'll host private and professional astronauts. Don't ask me what a private astronaut is. As of right now, I don't know any civilians going into space other than going onto the plane that Virgin Mobile has. Sorry, I gotta crack my back. It's going to be supposedly going to be basically one of the replacements for the ISS that will work directly with NASA, with it being for both civilian astronauts, whatever that means in 2028, and professional astronauts to do research. It's a research station. Then there's Voyager Space, which is a commercial space station, and it's going to be used as dedicated scientific research in microgravity, including areas in like pharmaceuticals and material science. So it's going to be another space laboratory. Then there's Blue Origin, which is a bit more, I would say, maybe wishful thinking for this soon, but it's going to be called the Orbital Reef, and it's going to be offering research, habitation, and various commercial activities in low Earth orbit. And one of the things they claim they're going to do is research, manufacture, tourism, and potential space-based logistics. So I guess, if anything, they'll just become a space warehouse that's shipping out material. They're planning on doing space Amazon. Got it. Nailed it. How else are you going to get your Amazon's packages in space? It's got to come from space. They solved it, guys. They're doing space Amazon. Then there's VAS, which has Haven 2, which is designed to be a larger, more advanced commercial space station with enhanced research capabilities, large viewing windows, and the ability to host both private astronauts and researchers from various space agencies. Again, private astronauts, I don't know if they're referring specifically to SpaceX astronauts or if they're referring to like civilian astronauts. They say private astronauts as if it's a real word. But I'm just going to get into my main concerns with this whole privatizing space thing. It's not a great idea. Privatizing anything is when it becomes about money and less about people, where I would rather them simply just individually make individual modules and then make them able to combine together, and then each company will be responsible for their module and could throw all their money together. But with it being individual space stations, I foresee, and this is all opinionated speculation by me, that there's not going to be any necessity or requirement for assistance. So I worry that possibly, say something happens with Axiom. Axiom's having a problem, they're losing power, and they need assistance from another one of the stations. Technically, VAS, Orbital Reef, or whatever one other one's up there might not be able to reach them in time before the thing goes, whatever happens, an implosion or just complete suffocation and running out of oxygen. The ISS works because it's a bunch of different nations and companies working together in one large space station, and that has an obligation of, well, you got to work together in order to survive. And that's why NASA has made such breakthroughs with the ISS, or we're on board the ISS, because it's not different nations working together. It's not private companies pushing an envelope for profit, which is my concern of space is turning into a for-profit game, whatever that means, and then safety becomes third. Because the minute you put private industry involved, where they're not required to take safety as highly concerning, they start cutting corners, and cutting corners is bad in space because you need every corner. You just need every corner. You need to keep every corner intact. You need redundancies, and small companies and private companies hate redundancies. They see them as a waste of money, a waste of time, waste of effort. And again, this is speculative opinion, but I worry that privatizing these and not having them work together is just going to cause competition in space. And just look at Aliens. Look at 2001 Space Odyssey. Look at anything involving space. Just look at Dead Space. Dead Space was basically this. But the privatized companies had a stake in space, and then one of them got turned into space zombies. Like, it's only a problem once you make it a problem. And I think instead of having these companies work separately and see each other as competition, now I should say, we'll oversee everything. You make individual modules, then the goal is to merge them all together into one big module. And then there's like an era of cooperation. Because the logistics of, I almost crossed my arms, I would mess up the mic. The logistics of safety is much harder when you have to keep an eye on several different space stations instead of just one. The reason why the ISS is one of the safest places on Earth, because, well, there's only one of them up there, and they all have to make sure that they can survive on it. And who knows? If Axiom has a problem, say that there is a crack they didn't foresee before, and now they have a crucial structural failure, it could implode, and who knows? Everybody on Orbital Reef could just watch a bunch of astronauts and people just into space and just Imagine the traumatization of that. It's like, yeah, you know the risk, but you knew the risk going into it, but these are rich people. They're whiny little brats. 100% they're going to freaking start a lawsuit and try and sue Orbital Reef over trauma and other mental freaking issues that have cropped up from it. So I'm just going to, I could babble on about this all day, but I'm just going to end it with, I think we're not at the point where we should have individual space stations, and instead we should plan on doing one whole space station with individual companies in charge of each module or section, instead of having individual companies just have their own station and then only feel responsible for their station and not the stations around them. We need to make sure that there's an air of cooperation. All right, but I'm going to end it here before I continue to babble. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember, stay curious, love space, go to the moon.